This video was sponsored by Squarespace. I'm not the strongest I've ever been. That was probably about 15 years ago when I could bench press 150 kilograms, maybe a little bit more. This isn't my best looking physique either. That was probably a little bit longer ago, back when I was living in Leeds and didn't have much else to do other than go to the gym. I'm not the fastest I've ever been. That's probably when I was back in school. And I'm not the most agile I've ever been. I used to be able to do backflips and back handsprings for a while there. But I am okay with all that stuff because that's inevitable. You're not always going to be progressing in a linear fashion. You can't always be getting stronger and never have any setbacks. And personally, I'm quite happy with where I am right now because this is the first time I've ever been able to do the occasional 2 freestanding handstand push-ups with a full range of motion. I'm also pretty happy with my physique considering that, and I'm still fairly strong. My kettlebell swings have improved, my jump rope's improved. So it hasn't all just been downhill once I got to a certain age, it's just that it hasn't always been linear. And like I say, that's inevitable. And it's really important that you be okay with not always progressing linearly. Because if you're not, then you're probably not going to take it very well when you do get those setbacks. This could set up unrealistic expectations and lead to issues like body dysmorphia down the road. And in fact, you might even choose consciously to say, hey, that's enough now. And this is something we don't really talk about enough. There's this culture, online and in general, of always pushing harder, always progressing, being better than you were the day before. And that's great in general. But when you narrow this down to just one trait or just one attribute and focus on just making that one thing better all the time, that's a recipe for disaster. You're going to become a bit one-track minded and a bit obsessive. And like I say, it's going to really hurt when you aren't constantly making that linear progress. This idea that it's a bad thing to ever say, look, I'm strong enough, I've met my goals, this is how strong I wanted to be, is odd to me because it actually would make a whole lot of sense to get to a certain level of strength or a certain physique that you're happy with and then say, that's enough, I'm happy how I am. Because here's the thing, to get to a certain level of strength or to build a certain physique or even gain a certain skill, that can be really, really difficult. But maintaining that can be a whole lot easier. So actually, if you're someone who doesn't love forcing yourself to go to the gym, make the target to get to a certain level and then just maintain it from there. And then that way you can enjoy having that level of strength you want, you can enjoy having that great physique you want, but then you can just focus more on living your life and having fun. Or maybe, what I would prefer, focusing on other aspects of your performance, picking up new skills and things. Jeff Nippard actually did a great breakdown of all the scientific literature looking at how easy it is to maintain muscle, as in how few times a week can you train, how quickly you're going to lose muscle when you're not training, and what he found, I'm not going to repeat it all here because he's done a great job, there's not really any point, but what he found by looking at all that is that generally 1 or 2 fairly intensive workouts a week is enough to maintain muscle, certainly, and you don't have to go crazy with that. So if you're doing a full body routine, a full body weight routine maybe, that's something you can do at home in 40 minutes, I say once or twice a week, and you're going to maintain most of the muscle that you've hard built. So how does this work? Well, mechanical tension is a key stimulator for mTOR, which is the pathway responsible for protein synthesis. While we tend to think of mechanical tension in terms of lifting massive weights though, the truth is that even something as light as walking does involve small amounts of mechanical tension, and this can be enough to encourage maintenance levels of protein synthesis, at least slowing down the rate of muscle loss in the legs, for example. Of course, maintaining a caloric surplus is also important for mTOR to occur, so if you're starving yourself, then you'll lose muscle faster. Light activity is also enough to prevent muscle protein breakdown by encouraging the production of anabolic hormones, even in small amounts. Metabolic stress, that is, getting a pump, is an underrated tool that's ideal for this. Using larger rep ranges and really feeling that swollen tension in the muscles means that you're creating a buildup of hormones and metabolites in the area as blood fails to escape. So a full body routine of high rep bodyweight exercises, performed once or twice a week, will do wonders for maintaining a good physique and even a lot of strength for a lot of people. And in terms of strength, you'll also still be practicing using the motor units this way, maintaining some neural drive. Better yet though, would be to practice the actual movements you wish to maintain. And this is of course very nuanced, and it's nuance that is often missed by studies that need to generalize their results. For example, there will of course be individual differences, and it's going to depend a lot on how much muscle you're carrying to begin with. If you've built a lean physique through calisthenics, you may find that you can maintain most of that through the kind of bodyweight approach I just recommended. Not doing anything extreme, just doing high rep push-ups, high rep pull-ups, that kind of thing, once or twice a week. Alternatively, you might even be able to maintain most of that physique through just swimming and rock climbing. But if you're Mr. Olympia, you're still going to be breaking down muscle at a faster rate than you're able to maintain it. You're going to need to eat a lot of protein, and you're probably going to need a little bit more mechanical tension. There's also specificity to consider here, because swimming and rock climbing won't build the pecs as much as the lats, for example. So in this scenario, if you want to keep a lot of muscle without wasting any excess energy on going further, then you could just try reducing volume, lifting twice a week rather than 4 times a week, for example, switching to a full body routine. Likewise, you could stop progressive overload. Just stick with the weight you have. Over time, you'll find that this is increasingly easy to lift, meaning it becomes less and less taxing on your nervous system and giving you more time and energy to do other things you enjoy. And again, you might still get a little bit stronger even, simply as a result of rehearsing those movements over and over for years potentially. Because actually, skills are what stick around the longest. Many of you listening to this won't have practiced riding a bike in months, yet you can still probably do it perfectly. In any of these scenarios, you're not building back thicker fibers, and maybe you're not creating new myonuclei, but you're not breaking them down either. In one study, it was found that younger participants could maintain their muscle mass with just 1/9 of the amount of volume that it took to acquire that muscle in the first place. Although we should keep in mind that they may have been able to acquire that muscle with less volume. However, they had to keep the intensity the same, so lifting a similar weight with similar effort. Older participants actually didn't get the same results either, so presumably you need a bit more volume than that, on average, as you age. However, we don't have an exact per age set of guidelines, and again, this might well be mitigated by a bunch of other factors like testosterone levels and training style. How would a high-intensity routine work out, for example? That's a training style specifically designed to stimulate a lot of muscle with lower volume. This is the issue with making sweeping statements based on single studies, or even lots of studies. But the point is, we might not have exact guidelines for everything yet, but it is safe to say you can scale back a lot and still stay pretty strong and pretty buff. And that's where it then gets interesting for me, because I can then just focus on doing the sprinting, the med ball slams, the bodyweight skills that I'm interested in, and that's going to be enough to just encourage a little bit of protein synthesis, blood flow to the muscle, just to maintain it and keep it there. When I was younger, I was obsessed with jumping over high stuff. Still am to an extent, and I was paranoid that one day I'd lose this ability, so I used to every single morning jump over this railing that was outside my house, and my logic was that if I did it once a day, then I'd keep the skill because I was using it. And whilst the science there is a little bit flawed, it's certainly true to an extent. If I'm doing handstand push-ups and requiring a certain amount of strength to do them, I'm going to maintain at least most of the strength of my shoulders, certainly the amount I need to be able to perform those movements. A lot of people say to me and other people who promote functional training, well, you didn't build your body that way, you started with bodybuilding or whatever, and then you did these skills. And yeah, that is a perfectly valid option. You can build strength to a certain degree, and then you can just focus on other stuff, bring up those other traits to meet that point. For me personally, I actually did build this muscle through a combination of bodybuilding and very high repetition bodyweight training and other sports and activities like martial arts and rock climbing. So that's not strictly true, but it is true that this would work, and it's certainly a viable option for anyone. I've got to the point through my training where I can feel enough of a stimulus that I know I'm just giving those muscles the kind of nourishment they need to maintain and possibly even grow, as long as I'm, say, getting a little bit of pump, getting a little bit of soreness. There's a whole big debate about whether you actually need a pump, whether you need soreness to see your muscles grow. I'm not going to get into that right now, but that for me is just enough of a way to know, look, I've stimulated the muscles, and I can do that very quickly, like I say, with my big sets of goblet curls or with some big sets of push-ups, just allowing me then to focus on the other stuff that I'm really interested in. And as Jeff Nippard pointed out in the same video, it is also true that you build back muscle much more quickly. It's quite interesting because he said that there's now a debate as to whether this is due to an increased myonuclei count, whether it's more to do with just epigenetic changes, but whatever the case, Once you've built muscle, it's easier to bring it back. So if you do lose a little bit of muscle, it's not really the end of the world. Again, I think there's a bit of an incentive for fitness influencers to really encourage us to keep pushing and build more and more muscle, because obviously that's what they're promoting. That's what you're trying to sell as an ebook, or the lifestyle you're trying to promote. But if you are someone who, is training to live and not living to train, if you just want to look a bit better for the opposite sex, or so you feel more confident, or so that you can perform better in your sports, you only need a little bit more strength, a bit of a physique. And it's important to remember that and not kind of get that body dysmorphia where you don't notice your own gains or don't realize you've long surpassed your goals. So how do you know when you've reached your goals? How do you know when you're strong enough or fit enough and you can just maintain? Well, again, this is going to really vary from person to person. Obviously, if your life's ambition is to break powerlifting records, then you're not going to be strong enough for an awfully long time. If you want to be a pro bodybuilder also. But if you're just someone who enjoys life, then I would say that the way you know you're strong enough is if you can do all the things that you want to be able to do. If you're strong enough to do all the things you want to be able to do. Once your strength becomes the limiting factor so that you can't do the things you want to do, well, then that's when you need to start building more strength. Once you get to the point where either you can do the things you want to do or something else is holding you back, well, then you can, ease off on that a bit and focus on some other stuff. So for me, largely, I'm actually strong enough, which might sound like a crazy statement. It's not something you hear people say an awful lot, but I mean, I can do the handstand push-ups, which is something I want to be able to do. The reason I can't do more or do them better is due to stability, it's due to mobility in my shoulders, it's due to just practice and skill. I have a weak wrist due to it becoming injured, my core could be better. The point is though, it's not shoulder strength, because people who have much less shoulder strength than me can do better handstand push-ups and can do more of them. So I know it's not the shoulder strength. So I don't need more shoulder strength. I can currently do 130 kilogram bench press, something like that, maybe a bit more. As I've discussed with other people, there's not really a point in going beyond that, because you're never going to push something that heavy. Unless you're pinned underneath a car, you're always going to be stood up when you push away, which means if you push something much heavier than yourself, it's going to push yourself backwards. And if it comes to explosive strength, throwing something, throwing a punch, throwing a ball, pushing a person, that comes down more to your core strength, more to your explosiveness, rate of force development. So again, there's not really a huge benefit to building more bench press strength for me. Likewise, a lot of people talk about how squatting, doing a back squat with an awful lot of weight, has all this fantastic transfer to other skills and abilities. It makes you run faster, jump higher, and that's all very true. But there is a drop-off point where you start to become very strong but also very heavy, and now you're not launching up in the air anymore. And when you're lifting those really heavy weights, you're slowing down the movement, reducing that rate of force development. Whereas you could be focusing more on things like elasticity or stretch shortening cycle, so that you can explode off the ground more easily, or improving your strength-weight ratio. Those things at that point will make you jump higher. Whenever I talk about this stuff, a lot of people tell me, well, athletes, they do the big lifts. And yeah, it's true. But they're not breaking records in most cases. There's no benefit beyond a certain level of strength in those areas. And if, again, you're someone who wants to be a powerlifter, that's your goal, then great, keep building that amazing strength. But if your goal isn't that, then there's no reason to be lifting those extremely heavy weights, which frankly do come with risk. So yeah, at a certain point, you're strong enough, and that's when the strength is no longer the limiting factor. And you have to be honest with yourself here, because what we like to do is progress, because when we get a bit of success in one area, we think, great, I can be the best at this in the world. But if that's not your goal, it's not going to serve you. Instead, be honest with yourself and say, what am I actually still pretty rubbish at? And should I focus on that instead? And also, is this even important to me? Because there is nothing wrong with getting strong enough and then just coasting. For me personally, I think I do need a little bit more anterior delt strength for things like pseudo planche push-up, a bit more straight arm strength. My squats and my deadlifts aren't very good because I've had a bad back historically, which is now fixed. So I need to improve that, even though I find it boring and a faff. People ask me why I don't do a lot of deadlift. It's because it's a faff. You've got to take the bar off, you've got to put the weights on, and then you've got to put it all back again. And I find that annoying. But yeah, I still need to get stronger in some areas, but in other areas, I am strong enough. And you might be too. So, have a long, hard look at yourself. And you should take a moment to pat yourself on the back, because if you do feel that you've gotten strong enough, if you are happy with your physique, then that's great, because you did it. And it's okay to take a moment, instead of pushing yourself to the next level, it's okay to take a moment and pat yourself on the back, because you've done great. This is like an anti-New Year's resolution video. Some people are not going to like this, I think. Let me know if this resonates with any of you guys, if you're going to be backing off some areas of your training, or whether you think I'm talking absolute nonsense. And if you want a training program that is designed to build not only strength, but also mobility, endurance, all that good stuff that you can train with at home, with minimal equipment, at any level of experience, then check out my ebook and training program, Super Functional Training 2.0, the Protein Performance System. It's currently on winter sale, so you can get it for $23. Link in the description down below. And it also comes with a 80+ page ebook and over 2 hours of instructional video. So yeah, check it out. But either way, thank you so much for watching this one, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. By the way, guys, this video was sponsored by Squarespace. So, as you probably know by now, Squarespace is a website building platform that makes it extremely easy for anybody to build their own website, and from there to run their own business. With Squarespace, you can build a website, have it up and running in literal minutes. You can either choose from one of their many pre-made templates and then customize it however you like, or you can use their AI tools to build a website, again with absolutely no coding skill necessary, and have it up and running in no time. From there are endless features that you can take advantage of. You have a fully comprehensive suite of e-commerce tools, so you can sell products online. Squarespace lets you accept a wide range of different payment types, which means that you won't be turning away customers because they don't have Apple Pay or don't have debit card or don't have PayPal. You can accept it all, and this is a big deal for anyone trying to run a business online. There's appointment scheduling for people selling services, and then there's all the publishing tools, social media tools, pretty much anything you could possibly want. This is why some of the biggest brands on the web rely on Squarespace, and why I highly recommend it to anybody looking to get started. If you want to find out more, then go to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Bioneer, and you get 10% off your first domain or website. And bye for now.